All right, hello everyone. We are back with another entry, this time in Worspa's Rum Talk series today. We're here with Tree Distillery in Belize. As always, we have your host, Matt Dietrich, who is joined today by three special guests from Tree. We have Ed, Mark, and Waluco, who I will let Matt introduce you to in just a moment. Before we jump in, I'm Will Hookinga from Zavvy.co and just want to point out a few different ways that you can interact with each other and everyone on the show today. So, on your right, you'll see a chat box. Feel free to just say hello. Let us know where you're joining us from around the world. I know I already see we have quite a few people from Barbados, Oakland, Panama, Berlin. So, worldwide as always, which is great to see. If you have a question at any point for any of these guys or for Matt, there's a little button at the bottom of your screen that says ask a question. So just click that button and type your question in. We'll be keeping an eye out for those. And last but not least, feel free to invite your friends to join us. There's a share button at the top that makes it easy to do that. But yeah, with that out of the way, Matt, I'll turn things over to you now.
Thank you, Will. A pleasure to be here as always. Actually a pleasure as well to sort of restart the Rum Talk series after a gap when we thought we'd gotten every producer out there that we every WORSPA member out there. We have some new WORSPA members. A lot of people don't know this yet, but recently three more member countries, including Belize, have joined WORSPA as full-fledged members and are on to have representatives on the WORSPA committee and so on and so forth. So we're very excited about that, and so we naturally took advantage of that to say, hey, let's get some more Rum Talk series going out there. So I'm delighted that we have Copalli Distillery here from Belize. Most people know Belize from the one distillery that's been there forever, but Copalli is sort of coming on strong. And I've looked at the slide deck, and there's some amazing things. And I really want to go to Belize now. So I'm very excited to have them here. It's going to be a great, fantastic technical presentation, which we love here. So with that said, Mark, why don't you first tell us about you? Mark is the CEO, I believe. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Thanks, Matt. Hi, everybody. I'm the CEO of Copalli Rum. I've been with the business for just about a year, but I've spent my entire career in the spirits industry. So I've worked for some larger, some smaller, and some medium-sized businesses, but none of them are as exciting as Copalli Rum. And so delighted to be here today telling you the story behind the brand.
Fantastic. And Ed, tell us about what you do.
Well, I'm the president and master distiller here at Copalli Distillery. I've been here going on 7 years now, since the first ideas of the distillery were projected to construction and to commissioning and now production. So this best job I ever had.
Excellent. And last but not least, Waluco, tell us about yourself.
Cheers, everyone. Pleasure to be here this afternoon. I'm coming to you live from on site here at Copalli Distillery, Copalli Lodge. I am assistant manager at Copalli Lodge, which is an eco resort where we have here, and I'm the rum expert on site.
Excellent. Well, welcome all. So with all that said, let's jump into the presentation.
We've broken this up into 3 parts. I'm just going to kick it off in a bit with talk a little bit about philosophy, but after I speak about our philosophy, Waluco will talk about kind of our rum in general, the environment that we produce it, and what Belize means to the rum production here. Then I'll talk about the distillery operations a little bit more specifically, and Mark will finish it up talking about some of our sustainability issues that we've gone through, and also the products that we've developed. So for Copalli Distillery, I would say that everything we do here at Copalli Distillery is really guided by a single philosophy. For us, rum is an agricultural product, right? The quality of the rum is determined by the quality of the sugarcane that we grow and harvest at the farm. So it kind of goes back a little bit to my early days as an eau de vie maker. You know, we tend to, or I've kind of forced everybody here to think like an eau de vie maker, is that we honestly express in the spirit what the land has and the farm has given us. And that's really that's really the guiding light for all of us here. So with that little intro, I'm going to hand it off to Waluco, and he'll talk a little bit about our area in Belize in general.
Yeah. So Copalli Rum is a new organic sustainable rum being made here in the heart of the rainforest, southern Belize. As you can see, I'm right here on site. It is a single estate product, meaning from raw material sugarcane to bottled product Copalli Rum. Everything occurs right here on site within a 2-mile radius. It is certified organic, meaning we're not using any harmful chemicals in the growing process of the crop. And it's an agricole style rum. So we're using the fresh pressed cane juice as our raw material for fermenting and then distilling a rum, as opposed to molasses. It is made with 3 simple ingredients: sugarcane, yeast, and canopy water. We'll get into those a little later in the presentation. And I often like to say, Copalli Rum is a clean, good tasting, environmentally responsible rum being made in southern Belize by the people of southern Belize. Okay, there you have a bird's eye view of our property. So it shows the beautiful Maya Mountains. Our distillery sits right here in the heart of the rainforest. But Toledo district, which is the southernmost part of Belize, you really get the best of both worlds. So while we're here in the heart of the rainforest, we're only about 5 to 10 minutes drive from the beautiful Caribbean Sea. All right, so a little bit about the history of our property. On site of our property, we have 3 entities. We have Copal Lodge, which is an eco resort. We have Copal Distillery, home of Copalli Rum. And then we have Copal Farms, which grows our organic sugarcane and our organic cacao. Our property was formerly owned by American Confederates, who also grew some of the first sugarcane here in southern Belize and produced some of the first rum. That rum was known as Rocky Run Rum. Rocky Run Rum was being produced from the late 1800s up until the early 1970s. We were formerly British Honduras before we became Belize in 1981. Fast forward a little bit to 2005, our owner, Todd Robinson, acquired the property. And this is when our entities began to become established. So we had Copal Lodge, and then later in 2015 was groundbreaking for our distillery, Copal Distillery, which you could tell is a very new distillery, and Copalli Rum is a new product. And it wasn't until 2018 that we launched our rums, our white and barrel rested, in the state of California, USA. Later 2019, we then launched our white and barrel rested rums to Florida and New York. And just earlier this year, a few months ago, we launched our new and flavored rum, our cacao rum, to all of the USA. All right. So sugarcane. Let's talk about this fabulous crop that we grow here on site. Okay. So our sugarcane, we're growing a local cane varietal or local cane varietals. We're doing something native to southern Belize, and we'll talk a little bit more about our cane varietals. Our sugarcane is all hand harvested. We currently have about 110 acres on site of the distillery, and at a separate farm, we're starting another project for another 100 acres of sugarcane. This is all certified organic, so again, no chemical is used for fertilization or pesticides in the maintenance process of the crop. Our harvest season is primarily from March to June, July, and our average day begins at about 6:30 and goes about to 3 p.m. with several breaks in the day.
And so in terms of your harvesting, so you harvest during the dry season, correct?
Right. Okay. We have a dry and rainy season here in Belize. We find it more ideal to harvest in the dry season, as there's a lot more moisture during the rainy season.
Okay. And so, do you think there will be a point where you'll be able to grow sugarcane year round, like some countries are doing?
What do you think there, Ed?
No, I don't think so. When we say raining season, we're serious about that. It really kind of
okay.
You can't get into the fields and effectively harvest at a certain
okay.
time.
Just curious.
Right. I'll let you know how much rain we're talking exactly when we get to that section.
Okay.
All right. So I mentioned, all of our sugarcane, that is where the product starts out in the field, is certified organic, meaning, we're not using any harmful chemicals in the maintenance process of the crop. Our land that we grow our sugarcane on has to have been free of any non-organic cultivation for up to 6 years. A cool aspect about our sugarcane, we do not burn our sugarcane plantations. A lot of organizations usually burn their fields. For one, the heat from the fire increases the brick content within the sugarcane stock. The flames also get rid of any unwanted weeds and the grassy part of the cane, which could be a little bit annoying to work with. Those are reasons why fields are burned. For one, Copalli Rum is a new, organic, sustainable, environmentally responsible rum, and burning multiple acres of sugarcane at a time is just not sustainable for the environment. So we do not burn our fields, and we kind of just take our time and harvest as we go. We're using only organic fertilizers. Well, we have 3 primary organic fertilizers that we're using. We're using the treated vinasse, or waste after distillation, for organic fertilizer and irrigation. We're using the burnt ash from the boiler, and we're using some chicken manure. So a lot of things that are normally considered waste, we're using as organic fertilizer for sugarcane. Okay, and we're also getting our certification to time. Sugarcane varieties. I actually have a little piece of sugarcane right here in front of me there. All right. So we grow 2 cane varietals, a red cane and a black cane. Like I mentioned a little earlier, these are local cane varietals, heirloom sugarcane that's been present to southern Belize for quite some time. Looking in the world, of course, we have about over 500 different varietals of sugarcane, and in Belize, we have multiple varietals of sugarcane. So we relied on varietals that are like native to southern Belize. We ended up with our red cane and our black cane. Both, very sweet and soft flesh. Actually, this piece of sugar cane, I could bite right into it and pull off the peel. For the red cane is actually responsible for our 3 currently available products: our white rum, our barrel rested, and our cacao. We're getting some a little bit of like grassy notes, something I'd compare to like lemongrass. We're getting some tropical fruit in there. And yeah, it's like the one that we're using for our white, our barrel rested, and our cacao. We also have a black cane. A little story on the black cane. It has a very vibrant, dark colored stalk, and it was actually something that we stumbled upon. So in the initial days of the distillery, we planted this red cane, and in the younger days of the black cane, it has some hues like the red cane, and it's not until it's mature that it starts to demonstrate its bright black color. So we planted our red cane, and some black cane was in the bunch. Our guys in the fields harvesting our cane, and they stumbled upon this stock that was different colored. So we didn't question it too much. We took a machete, cut a piece, tasted it. That's what we're looking for. This was our black cane. So again, very fibrous, very soft. I like to think, in comparison to the red cane, the black cane has a lot more a flavor that really lingers. It's a lot more like a syrupy texture. And again, we're getting a little bit of grassy notes and some fruit notes in there. This is used for our Belizean white rum and some aged rums that we're working on. Now, water source. Okay, next slide there. So Copalli Rum is made with 3 simple ingredients: sugarcane, yeast, and canopy water. Canopy water is a natural rainwater of Belize. We have gutters attached to the distillery, the roofing of the distillery. We're capturing that natural rainwater of Belize and holding it in our cisterns. This is used for the downproofing of our spirits. During that rainy season, now we're saying that it really rains here. Between the months of like June to November, we're getting about roughly 160 to 162 inches of rain per annum. All right, so a lot of rain. We're definitely making use of that. So we collect that rainwater. We're using that for the downproofing of our spirits. I even like to say, every time you get a drink with Copalli, you're getting a little taste of Belize as well. None of our wastewater from distillation goes back into any streams or groundwater system. Like I mentioned, we're collecting that, we're treating it, and then it returns to the fields as a form of organic fertilizer and irrigation. All right.
Thanks, Waluco. So when harvests begin, we've been waiting 12 months anxiously for sugarcane to start to be harvested in the new crop year. We're finally able to transform the hard work of from the farm and turn it into rum. Our job really is not to mess up what the farm's given us. So a typical harvest starts with obviously the milling operation. So where sugarcane gets delivered from the fields in the morning, it's unloaded. We have a mini cat that loads it into a sorting conveyor and then on to shredding and pressing. For every ton of cane, we get about 620 liters of juice. We can process about 4 tons of cane per hour. Brix was target we're looking from the field is about 15 to 18%. We don't do any heavy filtering, but we do run it through a trommel filter that kind of spin dries the juice a little bit and takes some of the solids out. We don't pasteurize, nothing really to treat the juice before it hits the fermentation tank. And for everybody who's interested, the mills that we've acquired, they come from Colombia. They're kind of custom made. They were actually the smallest sugarcane presses that they've ever produced. So that was kind of
how many mill assemblies? Like 2, 3?
We have 2 sets of rollers.
Okay.
So after that, we don't think the quality. It's like multiple pressings of grapes for wine. After you press it twice, you just have to add so much water to get the sugar out that it degrades.
But are you doing imbibition?
No, we do not.
Okay.
We do not.
Okay.
So after milling, right into fermentation. We have 3 fermentation tanks. They're about 32,500 liters each. I really love walking through the distillery during fermentation. That's probably one of my favorite parts is, smelling the tanks when they're fermenting. It's like it's alive in there. It's actually a slightly bit thrilling just every day we're pressing and fermentation's going on. The fermentation temperatures we do are at a steady 89 degrees. You can see on the picture of one tank that the tanks are jacketed. We inoculate the juice with a commercial strain of yeast, nothing fancy about it. And we do it when the tank is about half full. We do our first inoculation.
So do you propagate the yeast yourself, or is it like a dry yeast you're buying?
It's a dry yeast. So we don't propagate the yeast yourself.
Okay.
So we'll
just buy the dry yeast, put it in. Okay.
Put it in, yeah. Fermentation takes about 4 days, and we'll get between a 7.5% and an 8.5% ABV cane wine at that point. It's a simple process. We don't add any bacterial additions or anything like that. It's just the juice and the yeast. All right, the distillation column. So once fermentation's done, it's ready for distillation. So we have 2 distillation processes. We have continuous column stills or pot stills. One note is that there's no difference in our fermentation process depending on where it goes. We have 3 columns: the beer column, the hydro selector, and a rectification column. The beer column, basic job is to remove solids, concentrates the alcohol, and it brings the alcohol concentration at the top of the column is about 75% ABV. It's 21 meters. It's got 21 plates. They're perforated plates, and they are stainless.
So no copper at all in the beer column?
No copper at all in the beer column.
Okay.
The second column is the hydro selector. It's a diabolical device developed by Puerto Rican engineers to extract as much flavor as they possibly can from a distillate stream. But we do use it on occasion. So it basically extracts the alcohol that become non-soluble at low concentrations of water. That gets vaporized at the top, and so what actually is the product is discharged through the bottom. And that discharged product is about 25% alcohol.
Right.
It's a little bit shorter. It's not quite 15 meters. It's got 55 plates. Some of them are stainless, and some of them are copper, and they're all valve trays. So where the other ones are perforated, these have a valve tray plates.
So you basically take it up to 75, then basically down to 25.
Yeah, what happens is in that second column, we add water to it to reduce the alcohol percentage, and then that will vaporize the.
Yeah, so it's not continuously, not like a coffee column where it goes up in strength as you go through it. Like up, down, and then we'll go back up again.
That's right. Then we go to the rectification column.
Okay.
So we'll take the bottoms product from the hydro selector and bring it up to the final proof. This produces our light rum. The whole column system can produce conservatively 2,000 liters of absolute alcohol per day. This is the tallest column naturally. It's 22 meters, 70 plates. The first half are stainless and the second half are copper, and they are also valve trays. So our column rum is really used as a blending component for our white rum. It's 75% of the white rum, and it's an infusion base and distillation base for our flavored rums, which right now is just our Copalli cacao rum. The pot stills, these are my, pride and joys. The columns are really efficient, but, they're kind of an engineering solution to distillation. This is where all the sexy stuff happens, all the magic. So we have 2 pot stills. Kind of difference between pot stills and column stills is that, when you're pulling from a tray in a column still, if you're thinking about, the flavors and the distillate along a spectrum, you're really just getting one narrow spectrum of light, right? Whereas from a pot still, you're getting it, from after you take the cuts, the highest level of flavor to, alcohol to a lower level of alcohol, and all the spectrum of flavors in between.
Right. It's often said, sometimes people will say like continuous distillation is distillation using space along the column, and pot distillation is distillation in time. Like that, that's how you separate either space versus time.
Yeah, that's another way to think about it. Exactly right. Yeah. So we have 2 pot stills for our distillation. The distillery operators have called to name them Big G and Little G, although they have no idea what G stands for, or at least they won't tell me. So they're 2 refurbished cognac style pot stills. We use steam coils for heating, and there's no reflux in the system. Big G is 5,000 liters. It's our first distillation of cane wine, and it produces low wines at about 28 to 29% ABV. Second pot still is Little G. That's 2,000 liters. We do the heads and tails cuts. They're similar to cognac. That's where my initial training was, so I kind of always fall back onto that. So 1 to 2% is going to be the heads. The next 2/3 will be the hearts, and the rest the tails and the seconds and the tails. Our resulting distillate is about 70% ABV. We don't blend the seconds and the tails back in with wines and redistill it. My philosophy of that is it didn't taste good the first time it came out. Why would we want to distill it the second time? So we certainly don't waste it. We'll just send those to the column and reprocess it and capture out all that alcohol there. When we're in operation, everything runs 24/7 in 2 12-hour shifts. So each pot still will do a turn every 12 hours. And these pot stills rums, they provide the real character to our rums. So for the white rum, it's the 25% of that. All our barrel products are pot still rum, and an unaged Belizean white that we're working on, that also is 100% pot still. Boiler operations. So for the process engineers out there, we have a 150 horsepower big gas boiler that we sourced from Brazil. It's actually interesting where we've got all the different equipment. So the boilers from Brazil, the mills from Colombia, the distillation equipment is all from Spain, and the fermentation tanks are all from Spain. It produces 2,500 kilos of steam per hour. It is burned by bagasse that contains 50% moisture or less that fuels the boiler.
Do you have to let the bagasse dry for very long before you use it?
We do not. We're pulling samples from the mill at the end of the second pressing to make sure it's at 50%. Okay.
So you can pretty much go almost straight into the boiler.
That's right. Yeah. There's a little bit of it accumulates. We make it fast and then we burn it, so it does have an opportunity to dry a little bit.
Right. Okay.
It provides steam for the stills, naturally for heating the stills, hot water for cleaning and sanitizing, And also the hot water energy, it also drives the chilling in our absorption chiller. So we don't use chillers with compressors. We have an absorption chiller. So that's very energy efficient for us. Barreling. Only pot still rum is used in our barrel product. It goes into the barrel. We use once-used bourbon barrels. We don't rechar the barrels. We basically use them as is, and then we'll reuse them a couple of times until we've kind of exhausted them. We proof the rum to about 123 proof before barreling. So we'll take it, it comes out at 70%, 140, and we'll add a little bit of water for barreling.
You have to do that slowly, like over a couple of weeks to bring it down?
Not for this portion. We basically just add a little water and then it's ready to go.
Okay.
Our aging warehouse, we have a relatively new aging warehouse. It's 10,000 square feet. We have about 1,000 barrels in there right now, and we think we can reach a capacity of about 10,000 barrels. In there right now, we have Copalli barrel rested rum. It's kind of like a reposado product, and it usually will stay in the barrel between 10 and 15 months when it's released. We haven't released any aged products yet, but we do have some rum that is approaching its 5th year anniversary with us. So we've tasted it, and we're pretty excited about it. Proofing, nothing too unusual there. All our spirits are proofed with rainwater. The distillery recovers about 100,000 gallons of rainwater a year. For proofing, we do this is where we do slowly proof the rum over several months down to bottling strength. Bottling is we kind of do it in an old-fashioned way right now. We have a semi-auto line. The guys can usually push out 150 bottles per hour. We do all the bottling here at the distillery. We don't send it off anyplace else to a different packaging. There's no secondary packaging location. It's pretty basic. We do hope to get upgraded to automated line soon, because that means, Mark and Waluco are doing a great job putting the rum into people's glasses. So we're looking forward to that. And that's pretty much the distillery operations. We're pretty simple and basic. I'll let Mark talk about sustainability of the products.
Before we jump ahead, just real quick. Yeah, two questions. First one, I can't recall if you mentioned this. So you talked about your boiler and you're generating the steam. Is there any sort of cogeneration, like electricity is generated as well?
No, so the steam boiler, the output steam is about 125 PSI, and our usable steam is, or process steam is 45 PSI. So there's not a big enough drop to really get enough energy for cogeneration on that one.
Right. Okay. And the other question, which I think you addressed, is Christina from Germany asks, what are you doing with your cuts? I think you answered that, but in case not, what are you doing?
What do we do with the cuts? Well, the heads and tails we reprocess. We send those over to a holding tank, and then we'll put those into the stream for the column and make light rum out of that.
So you basically redistill them in your column still, where your maximum alcohol extraction is sort of more important than the flavor aspect of it.
Yeah, the flavor aspect we're not too excited about. Like I said, I come from having worked in cognac. I always got the feeling that redistilling, the seconds and the heads was more about maximizing alcohol than really adding flavor to it.
Right.
So we just don't do
no queen share coming anytime soon.
That's right. Yeah, no queen share from us. No.
Okay, cool. All right, Mark, go for it. You're muted.
Muted, Mark.
That would help. So thanks, Matt. Let me start by explaining kind of what sustainability means to us at Copalli Rum. So, sustainability is sort of absolutely core to this brand and always has been. And the reason for that is when our founder, Todd Robinson, started the distillery, he did it because he was trying to basically to save the rainforest in southern Belize. And he bought some rainforest. He bought 22,000 acres of rainforest. And he was looking to find ways that he could protect that in perpetuity. And he realized the best way to do that is to bring some sustainable but eco-friendly businesses to the area, which is why, as Waluco said, we've got 3 businesses on the property. We've got the Eco-Tourist Lodge, we've got a craft chocolate making business, and we've got the distillery. And right from day one, the way Todd wanted it designed, the way Ed was able to design this, was to make this an extremely eco-friendly distillery. So, you know, versus some distilleries that were built 50, 100 years ago, they're also, I'm sure, on this journey to become more green. Every brand is on the journey to become more green. What makes Copalli different is that we've started kind of much further down the line than many, because we were built to be an environmentally friendly distillery. And let me explain a bit about how that kind of manifests itself. You've heard a bit about it from Ed and Waluco, but you know, just to reiterate, you know, let's start with agriculture. You know, what the land around us. We have a 3,000 acre organic farm. It was the first farm in Belize to be officially certified as organic. And we're using about 100 acres of that farm today for sugarcane. We're expanding that. But just the fact that, you know, it's organic, we are not using any pesticides on that, is sort of testament to what we're trying to do to the land and the area around us. If you look at things like the sugarcane varieties that we're using, we're not using any commercial sugarcane varieties. As Waluco explained, basically what we did was we went out and found sugarcane that's absolutely thriving in this environment. But also we selected it not for its efficiency, but we selected it for its taste. And we've got 2 very different tasting varieties of sugarcane, which we think is also important. So all about the agriculture and what we're doing with the land is designed to both protect and basically help restore the rainforest, because we are surrounded by rainforest. You know, if you ever come and visit the distillery, you'll see we are in the middle of the rainforest, and it's really, we're there to help protect and restore it. So if we talk about things like the production system and what we've designed in that to make it sustainable, it's a closed loop system first and foremost. So, you know, if we talk about the fossil fuel usage, we're not really using fossil fuels at all to heat any of the stills. You've heard that the boilers are driven by basic biomass, the waste product that's left over. You know, once we cut down the sugarcane stalks, we squeeze out the juice, you've still got 80% of the mass still left, and that's what we dry out. We call it bagasse, as you've heard, and that's what gets put into the boilers and burnt. So we're not using fossil fuels like most other distilleries would do to heat the boilers. You've heard about how our chillers are very efficient as well, and we're able to use the steam from the boiler actually to drive the refrigerators as well. And then what's left over from the boiler, the ash, that gets returned to the field as well as fertilizer, along with any remaining vinasse, which is held in tanks, and we aerate it until it's pH neutral, and then put it back on the fields again as fertilizer. So there's all these different steps that we designed into the distillery from day one, which are all about making it sustainable. And then the other area we talk about is water usage. I think most people know, you know, many distilleries can be very, very kind of water thirsty in their processes. You know, the average bottle of spirits, I'm not just talking about rum, but all spirits, uses about 13 liters of water to make 1 liter of spirit. But the way we've built our system is we're not taking any water out of rivers and streams. We are simply using rainwater, and we're not putting any wastewater back into rivers or streams. We are processing any waste back into the holding tanks, and then putting it back on the field as vinasse, as fertilizer. So there are lots of different elements, whether it's what we do with agriculture, whether it's what we're not doing with fossil fuels, or the way in which we're being very efficient with water. All of those things play into this idea of making this a sustainable distillery. But there's another element that we'd touch on as well, which is almost just as important as everything we're doing for the environment. It's what we're doing for the community, for the people that live in and around Punta Gorda, where the distillery is based. Again, our founder has sort of right from the start set this distillery up to make sure that we are giving back to the community in lots of different ways. And we believe you can't really separate the work we're trying to do to support the rainforest and the work we're trying to do to support the community. Those two kind of have to work together. And so one of the things that we do is we're giving off the profits from the rum, are given back to the community in various forms. But one of the particular funds that we're giving to is education grants. So, we are giving a lot to various schools and to certain individuals who need help with whether it's exams fees or uniforms or sporting team uniforms, all those sorts of things. We have been slowly but surely giving money to those funds for many, many years, even before this distillery was actually built. And now we're sort of seeing the fruits of all those investments. And this is what we're really trying to do now and into the future, is make sure that we are giving back to the community. And another way, and probably the most important, is jobs. I talked about the 3 different businesses that we've got. Between those 3 businesses, we employ over 100 people, and that's full-time jobs in the region, and that makes us the biggest employer outside local government in this area. So once you have the ripple effects of those people earning and good salaries, they're able to spend money in the local community. So it has a big sort of ripple out effect. All that we're doing to really support the community. So, for us, sustainability isn't just, what we do in the distillery. It's just as important what we do in the local community to support those. The two are intrinsically linked. So let me talk a little bit now about our rum portfolio, so that you know a bit about the rums that we've got. Let's start with our white rum. This is the kind of mainstay of our portfolio. So this is a white rum. It's a blend of both the column distillate and the pot distillate. 75% column distillate, 25% pot distillate. And as I said, only the 3 ingredients go into this. We don't add any other sugars, flavorings, anything else into our product. So you end up with an incredibly clean tasting rum. I wish we could be trying some now, Matt, you and I together, but if you were to try it, let me tell you, what you would be tasting is quite a herbal, grassy flavored rum. But you get a lot of the sort of tropical fruit flavors coming through. Banana, mango comes through in the taste of this as well. So it's quite a unique tasting rum, but tastes absolutely fantastic in things like a daiquiri or a mojito.
Right. And I do happen to have a bottle, and I agree with your assessment there. So
that's good. Good. Yeah. The second rum we've got is our barrel rested rum. As Ed said, this spends about a year in used bourbon barrels. It's 100% pot still rum, so it's even more full flavored because of that. And the reason we keep it for about a year in the bourbon cask is we really still want the flavor of the sugarcane to come through in this. We don't want it to be kind of drowned out by the barrels. So this is certainly a very balanced rested rum. And, again, great neat, but you can stick this in cocktails as well. It's brilliant in things like old fashions. That's my favorite for it. It's slightly stronger. It's 44% ABV. versus 42 for the white. But a great tasting rum. Hopefully you've got that in your on one of your shelves, Matt, somewhere.
I do that as well. So
good, excellent. And the third rum I wanted to talk about is one that we've just launched. So you probably won't have this one yet. We really just put this out in the market in September in the US. It's been in Europe for a little bit longer. But what we do with the cacao rum, and the reason, let me explain the reason we do a cacao rum is, as I mentioned, one of the businesses that we've got beside the distillery is the craft making chocolate business. And so we are growing organic cacao right next to the sugar cane. And so Ed, you should probably be telling this story. You created this wonderful product, but what we did was Ed took the white rum and he soaked it in the organic cacao nibs. And if you just flip to the next chart briefly, we'll come back to this one. But flip to the next chart, you'll see this is us growing the cacao on the site here. And people might be familiar with what a cacao looks like there on the left. Once you cut it open, that's where you get the actual seeds in there. And we spread them onto these great big beds that you see there in almost that greenhouse area. And those beds are on rollers, so they're able to push them out into the sun, and then they rake them to make sure they're getting evenly dried, and then they bring them in and out just to make sure they don't get too hot. But eventually you end up with the dried cacao nibs, which you'll see on the right. There is a picture of our roaster. So much as you'd roast coffee beans, we roast the cacao nibs. And we do, again, this all on site. It's all organic. And this is how we get hold of the cacao nibs, which we then soak those nibs in white rum. Leave them for a couple of weeks, so all the flavoring comes out of the cacao nibs. It turns the liquid quite a dark brown color, and so Ed then takes the bag with the nibs and the rum, puts them back into the pot still, and we do one more run through the pot still. We don't add anything after that, so there is no added sugar or flavorings or anything else. But you end up with this incredibly good tasting chocolate rum. And I would say if anyone likes dark chocolate, you're absolutely going to enjoy Copalli cacao rum. It's unlike anything else out there because most other chocolate rums I've tried have added some sugar. We don't add any other sugars, as I say, to this. So it's quite a unique flavor, unlike anything else that's out there.
Yeah, that was a great question, but you beat me to it.
Yeah, no, and you know what we're seeing as we're taking this around bars and working with bartenders is they're doing all sorts of things with this, everything from chocolate martinis through to using in espresso martinis, which seem to be incredibly popular at the moment. So this is our latest product we've launched into the market. It is in the 3 markets we sell Copalli in, so it's in California, New York, and Florida. But we're just getting going. Bartenders are just discovering this brand and figuring out what to do with it. So hopefully, Matt, that gives you a flavor of kind of Copalli, the different rums that we've got in the portfolio, the 3 rums that are out there now, but also the sort of underlying philosophy of sustainability, which was the reason the distillery got created and the whole kind of drives all the decisions that we make today.
Well, thank you, Mark. Actually, thank you all of you for that lovely presentation. I can't help but think how exciting this is for the rum world right now, when we're starting to see new distilleries come about, like obviously Copal Tree there, but also like, for example, Renegade and Grenada, who are like brand new, and they're doing everything to be environmentally friendly and the latest technology. Not just column distilling everything. Like it's a really exciting time for rum. Not only do we have these historic old distilleries making rum in a particular way, we also have new distilleries coming online and venturing off into cane juice rums in a different way. And it's just really exciting for me to see this. So I'm super glad we got to see in depth here what you guys are doing. So you have a couple questions here. First question is from Vaughn. It says, and I going to guess this is for Ed, and I kind of had the same question. Does your bagasse cover all your steam needs, or do you ever need to top it up with other fuel?
It does not, but it does not now because our production, our pot stills are kind of like a little bit of a bottleneck in our production cycle. So our pot stills can only handle 115 tons of cane per week, given the size. So we only harvest 3 days a week, but we still run the stills 24/7. So we do end up using a lot of scrap wood from the local lumber yards, wood that's used, recovering from the fields and things like that, to turn into wood chips to burn the other days.
Right. And if you were to, like when you start up for a season, would you have saved some from the fire?
So we'll have whatever we have left over from last season, and then a few tons of wood chips, and that'll start us up while we're fermenting the first batch.
Okay, good. And the second question here is from Christina again. She says, "Are you doing pre-blending? And also, what has your angel share been so far?"
The angel share has been high. It's the first year. It's looking to be like 8 or 9% on some of the barrels.
Right.
I'm not sure what she's getting, but what she means by pre-blending.
Right. Yeah. I mean, my thought was maybe like, are you blending different marks, or possibly like blending pot and column stills before you go it?
No, we don't blend pot and column and put that in. Nothing that comes from the column goes in the barrel, and we're not blending anything from different production years yet.
Right. Okay. So yeah. So it's a pretty simple process. Like what you column still doesn't get barrel aged. What you do pot still, there's basically one mark, and that one mark goes into the barrels.
That's right.
Okay. Let's make sure we don't have any other questions here before we sign up. No, I think we're good. So thank you again, all of you, for this amazing presentation. I certainly learned a lot and had lots of questions in there. So anything else anybody would like to say before we have Will take us out?
No, just thanks a lot for the opportunity, Matt. I've watched several of the other presentations you guys put on, and I'm excited to have been part of it.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. Mark, anything?
Well, if you want to know any more, please go to our website or follow us on Instagram or Facebook. You can find us on copallirum.com. And if anyone wants to order a bottle, go to our website. We've got an e-commerce site attached to that. So press the Buy Now button, and we will deliver it to your door in most states in the US.
And Waluco, I can't wait to meet you someday. I want to go there. Anything you want to say?
Cheers for the opportunity. Glad to be able to talk about our product coming out of Belize and touch a little bit on Belize. I encourage you to drink Copalli, and if you ever get the opportunity, visit us here in Belize.
I look forward to it. All right. Will, take us out.
All right. Yeah. Just want to say thanks to everyone again, everyone in the audience for joining and asking some great questions. And to all you guys as well. We had lots of really enthusiastic responses in the comments from people that are really excited about what you guys are doing. I just put up a link to the Copalli Rum website right underneath the stream. So if you want to learn more, there's some fantastic pictures and stuff like that there to check out. So just click that and check it out. But yeah, I think that's about it for today. Matt, I know we have another live stream next week. I don't know if you want to mention that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm incredibly excited that we're doing another one of our Icon Series interviews. This time around, next Wednesday, it's going to be John Georges, who I was incredibly lucky to meet and go tour Sugar Estate remains and the Caroni Distillery and all sorts of other fun things in Trinidad. He is the former master distiller for Angostura, for Trinidad Distillers Limited and Angostura. He's just a fascinating person to talk to. So I'm incredibly excited that he's going to be doing with us. So that's next Wednesday.
I believe it's next Monday, actually.
15th. Yeah, Wednesday the 15th. Yes.
Monday the 15th.
Was it Monday the 15th? Oh,
that's right.
Okay. You're right.
1 week from today.
Yeah, we'll get it figured out. Okay. Trust Will.
It's almost the end of the year, so but yeah, I just put a link up in the chat to click there and register for that. But yeah, thanks everyone again. Thank you, Ed, Waluco, and Mark for your time today and for sharing everything you're doing down there. And we'll see everyone again soon.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Cheers.
All right,
Thanks.